Hey everybody, what is up? My name is Dave from NewEraSense.com. I just want to introduce you to our new YouTube channel where we'll be making weekly videos and have other shows along the way as well too. I'd like to also introduce my co-host Nick, and if his voice sounds familiar, it's because he's also the host of our podcast. Welcome, Nick.
Hey man, good to be here. Thanks for having me on the YouTube channel. I'm very excited to get going, and it's a step up from the podcast. So I'm excited to get going here, Dave.
It's a little different. You gotta look presentable, and you can't just sit there in sweats. But at the end of the day, it's going to be fun. Though we're going to do this every week. We're going to have shows that'll be getting introduced throughout the season as well. We're really excited to do this on YouTube because we know a lot of people enjoy watching video content, so not just audio, right? So
yeah, and I think it's a good thing because we are a Sens based platform. We do a lot of things for the Sens, so I think there's a lot of Sens fans out there who try to search things up on YouTube and don't necessarily find what they're looking for. So we plan on just giving out that content for most Sens fans as well. And you know what, for other NHL teams as well. I mean, we're always talking hockey, so whatever news comes up, we'll make sure to talk about. So yeah, it should be really fun.
Well, that's exactly it. We're a Sens news station first, but we're going to have general hockey talk. At the end of the day, we can restrict ourselves to the Ottawa Senators, who's our favorite team. But I feel like we all have way too much knowledge and passion for the game that we just want to talk about just about everything. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
All right. I want to start off, though, with the topic of the day right now, the number one thing. Stutzle finally signing his 3-year entry-level contract with the Ottawa Senators. So he's going to go from the World Juniors to a Sens jersey. And I think we all kind of knew it was coming eventually, but now it's like Christmas morning where it's here and it's finally smacking you in the face. How do you feel?
Yeah, man. I think for a lot of Sens fans, we not to say we were worried, but I mean, we did see all these other players sign their entry-level contracts. So as a Sens fan, I was sort of getting worried because there has been a discussion out there that Timmy might not get released by Mannheim. So I mean, sort of shook about that, but we all knew eventually his goal was to play in the NHL this year. The Sens obviously value him and they see him as an NHL body. So I thought it was obvious that it was going to come eventually. But Dorion did say that he only planned on doing so after the tournament. So to see this news come out while the World Juniors are still very much going on, it came a bit as a surprise, but nonetheless, I think we're very excited, and I think Timmy's going to look good in red and black for sure.
I mean, black and red.
Yeah, whatever.
But one thing is, a lot of people had talked about why waste a year of his entry-level contract on a season like the season coming up. And my answer to those people are because Ottawa wants to see Timmy in a Sens jersey ASAP. Even if it's only for 56 games or whatever it's going to be, I wouldn't call it a waste of a year of his entry-level contract. It's going to sell jerseys. It's going to start building the rapport between the fans and the team again. It's going to do a lot of healing. I mean, I know there's still a lot of hate out there for Mr. Melnyk. I personally am not a fan or against him. He's done a lot of good recently and a lot of bad in the past. I think he's really trying hard to make up that space. But to those who say why burn a year of entry level contract, because we need to see Timmy in a Sens jersey stat.
Yeah, and also I think for Timmy himself, his level of competition is not the AHL, it's not the DEL. He deserves to be at the highest level that he could possibly play. And you see him on a weak team like Germany. He stands out every game, even though they're shorthanded and they're obviously not the best team in the tournament. But you look at him play, and you look at Team Germany on the ice. You can point out Tim Stuetzle every time he's on the ice, which just goes to show how much of how ready he is for the next step. And I think he said it himself. I want to play in the NHL this year. That's my plan. I think that's what's next for him. And like you said, there's no reason for him to be playing anywhere else, even if it is a 56 game season. This is where he belongs. And I think adding him on to, a young Sens team, it just helps everything going forward. I mean, they have a plan. They want their young guys to log in those minutes and develop a bit more. So to have Timmy play on the NHL team this year, well, I think it's a good call. And I think that's where he belongs for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of watching him play with Germany, it's I kind of feel like he's left out to dry. Obviously, anyone who's watched a single game feels bad for Timmy because he's on a depleted team and he's getting annihilated, and he is probably one of the best players in the entire tournament. If you had a surrounding cast, put him on a Team Canada, and it's lights out for any other team. I mean, Team Canada right now is doing fantastic. I mean, amazing, which was shocking, even though without Doc in the lineup. I still think they've really adapted to having a new captain, and without that leadership guy there, they're still looking really good, man. What do you think of Team Canada and how they're playing right now?
Yeah, well, first of all, you did mention Timmy looks like the best player in the tournament, and look, I'm not being biased. I think that's just some of the facts. I mean, you watch him play, it's sort of hard to not think he's the best player in the tournament. Going third overall, and he's standing out so much, you have to assume he's one of the best, right? Yeah, so I mean, if Timmy was on a team like Team Canada or the US or even Finland or whatnot, I mean, if he was on a team with great players, I think, people would really be in awe into what he has to offer. He's a really good player, but he's just stuck on a medium level team. But as for Team Canada, I mean, as a Canadian, I'm super happy, and it was sort of hard to watch them beat Timmy 16-2. But it is what it is. It just goes to show how talented the Canadian team is. Probably one of the best teams we've seen, in the tournament history. So, I think the same goes with Team USA, another stacked team this year. Yeah, I'm very happy to see Team Canada. Even, they lost out on Doc getting injured. But to see them succeed, I mean, it just, goes to show that, they're really talented and they might end up winning it this year. So even with a big loss like that, I'm still confident in Team Canada and, the pressure that they have.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen the picture that's circulating all over Twitter and stuff of Doc's arm. At the end of the day, that's one of the most brutal things I've seen on a young hockey player. So,
yeah.
And then going back to Stutzle here in Germany, I really hope that he gains some confidence in his abilities to play, even though his team can have any form of success, because I really want him to think and feel like he was one of the best guys out there. And I want that to translate to come into Ottawa and then come in, have a really good mini camp, and just go all out. I mean, I'm excited to see. I want to see him line up with Tkachuk. I really do.
Yeah, that would be a sight to see for sure. I think for a lot of hockey fans, even mostly Sens fans, but I think a lot of people would just love to see him tee up with Tkachuk and maybe Dadonov there on the other wing. But for Timmy especially, I mean, he was injured before this tournament, so I think that was the whole plan for the Sens, is to lend him out to Germany to play and get experience playing at high level pace hockey, and coming back from an injury, maybe getting back in shape and getting back into the groove of playing a high intensity game. So I think that's good for Timmy. I think compared to a lot of guys on our team and across the NHL, they haven't been able to play a full game in over 10 months now. So I think for Timmy, being fresh off, the World Juniors coming into camp, I think, there's no reason for him not to stand out. Obviously being a third overall pick in last year's draft, I think the sky is really high for him and to impress in this training camp. And I think, that's what Dorion hopes to see from him as well, is Timmy come out and really show that he belongs there. And, I think they'll start him off pretty slow just to get him accustomed to North American hockey and the NHL. But I don't think it'll be a long while before we see him go up with Tkachuk on the first line. And that's going to be amazing to see.
Right. I mean, it doesn't matter who he plays with. He's going to elevate the line that he's on.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and speaking of drafted players, I mean, Sanderson, Clevin, Team USA. I think both have looked really good. I mean, Sanderson had that one hiccup, which at the end of the day happens to the best of the players in the NHL every day. It's part of the game. And Clevin looking really physical. I mean, I honestly think that Clevin should be dressed for every game for the tournament. He brings that physical aspect, and he's noticeable on the ice.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, he did play in one of those in that pre-tournament game, and I think he did stand out to me at least. Like maybe I had my eye on him a bit more because I do tend to follow our Sens prospects the most. But I think for Clevin, he really did stand out in his own way. I mean, he is a bigger body, and that's what that's the game he plays, right? He's gonna knock off those guys off the puck. He's gonna he's not afraid to lay the body, be that big presence on the back line. So for Team USA, especially seeing him play in last game, I think he deserves to be on that team, and that's crazy to say because they are a very good team and they're very loaded as well. But to see Clevin even make the roster beginning at the start of this tournament, I didn't really know what to expect. We've only seen a few games of him, but so far I'm really impressed. And Sanderson as well. He's another guy I think we all have high hopes for and expectations in this tournament, and he hasn't let us down. Maybe that turnover he gave away last game sort of made us worry a little bit, but I don't think we should. I think Sanderson is the full package, and I'm really excited to keep a tab on those guys going forward because they should be going pretty far in this tournament, I would believe.
Which brings me to my next question. Who do you have placing for gold, silver, and bronze?
Yeah, so after the last game with Team Canada, I mean, I think I'd be hard pressed not to have Team Canada winning the gold this year. Yes, I am Canadian, so that comes into play. But there's no Sens prospects on Team Canada, and you look at the U.S. team, we have two. So I would always go and lean for my Sens boys. But I am Canadian, and that's my bet this year for gold. Probably USA right after for silver. I don't know how it's gonna go for bronze, but I would assume Russia would be up there as well. I think the way they play their game is very Russian style, and it does work. And I do expect them to at least go far in this tournament.
I think one of the bigger issues Russia's always had is they've had a lot of individual players who played an individual style of hockey. You didn't have as much teamwork, and that's always been a thing as far back as the Olympics. But I think nowadays Russia has really implemented more of a team mentality to their game. Mm-hmm. And Russia has really started to come out of that shell, right? And so I think Canada-US is going to be a really good toss-up for that gold. But ultimately, I think Canada's going to take it. Again, national pride, call it, me being biased to my country. I think Canada takes it. I think USA puts up a really good fight for a silver medal. And I think Russia and Russia only holds that third spot.
Yeah, and just going back on Team Russia, the way that they play their game is really mesmerizing in a sense. They make sure to pass the puck back every time they go up and they get pressured. They pass the puck back, and it's such a different style of hockey. It is the Russian style of hockey, and it works. I mean, their zone entries are really good. They do pressure. They have big bodies, and I think they're always first on the puck. And I think that's scary. I mean, you look at a team like Russia; they do have some very skilled players on top of it. So I do believe that they could be a threat this tournament. I don't know how it's going to go, but I don't think we should write them off. And I think this year, even teams like Finland, Sweden, very good teams as well. And I think it'll be a really cool tournament to watch. And, I've been hooked so far.
I was honestly going to give Finland the bronze. I think for me, the decision breaker there was the Nashville Predators first round draft pick, Askarov, the goaltender. He's been nothing less than phenomenal in net. And you put him on this international stage against the best among his peers of his age, and he still stands out the exact same way he did in the KHL. He's still making phenomenal saves. He's still looking extremely athletic, and he still looks like one of those goalies that you're going to wish was on your team in the future.
Yeah, he's got a lot of swag too. I mean, you look at him. Last game, he was waving in front of his net to try to block the player from getting the puck from the defenseman. I think he's a very entertaining goalie. He's very flexible. He's very, acrobatic. I think, he does have a big name behind him, Askarov. He was drafted in the first round for Nashville this year. So people are keeping tabs on him. But, he's the type of goalie that can definitely steal games for you as a team. And, he's very talented, as we know. So, yeah, I think he's a big part of that Russian team and very dangerous to have on your team as well. So, like you said, Askarov could be he could be a game changer for Team Russia for sure.
Absolutely. Jumping back into NHL. Now it seems that the general public, like everybody from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook groups, hockey analysts, fans from every team have essentially just written off the Ottawa Senators as the 7th-seeded team in the North Division this season. I think they've done one of the best jobs at improving the team out of all the teams in the NHL. I think 56 games is a bit of a small plateau to put in order for them to mesh. 56 games is not a lot. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Ottawa finishes 7th in the North Division. I think there's no expectations, there's no pressure, but I think they're going to come out. They're going to come out banging, and they're not finishing at the bottom. I'm going to say 5th.
Yeah. See, I mean, that's the beauty of it. Everybody has their own opinions, and we don't really know what's going to happen. So it really is meaningless at this point to just predict what we want to see. But realistically, I mean, I think for me, there has been a few questionable things for the Sens in terms of what they decided to do. I mean, they went out and traded for a guy like Goodbranson, which they could have found a way to sign a player through free agency from the likes of Goodbranson and guys like Brown as well. We also just traded for Stepan. We just gave a second rounder, which, for a lot of Sens fans don't really see the value in Stepan. That's worth a second, especially considering Arizona wanted to get that contract out of their hands. So there is a few things I think the Sens have done that really makes me wonder, their decision making. But I think overall, you look at the core guys that they've brought in, it already is a big tune-up from last year. And to see them not improve, at least, would be disappointing. I mean, even if they did finish last place in the North Division, I don't think that's a bad thing. As long as you see some improvement and see some chemistry forming, I think that's a good thing, especially in a shortened season, in a pandemic, nonetheless. So we'll see what happens with the Sens, but I still have them last, just considering it's a very strong division this year, and I think all the other Canadian teams all have pressure to go out and make the playoffs. So I think for the Sens, it is a no pressure year, and I just don't see them overcoming those other teams.
Really? See, for me, the guys like for example, like Calgary, I love the Calgary Flames. I do. I don't see them stepping up to the plate this season. Montreal hasn't made enough improvements either to say that they're a good team. I mean, they've made some minor adjustments, and they do look better on paper. But I think Ottawa's made enough changes that they can really step up their game above a couple of these other teams. Calgary, Montreal, maybe even, I'm going to be bold and say Edmonton.
Yeah, I see. The thing is with me, when it comes to Calgary, I think Markstrom covers their goalie problems that they've been having. I think Markstrom is one of the best goalies in the league, in my opinion. I think Tkachuk is only going to get better. I think Rasmus Andersson is only going to take a bigger role on that team with an aging Giordano. I think Monahan and Gaudreau are going to have a bounce back year. So that's mostly why I don't see the Sens being better than them. Also for Montreal, I do see Jake Allen and Carey Price in a 56-game season being able to steal some games and be able to share some of that goalie time, which is very valuable. I think they're two very good goalies, which I think will bring them some advantages. Also with Edmonton, I think Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are both hungry to win. I think that the Oilers do have a window to win the cup, and I think they're going to do everything they can to get there. And also some of their ads I really did enjoy seeing. I did like the Kyle Turris ad that they brought. I think that's a very good thing for them. There's other guys, but for the Sens, I do see an improvement. But I think overall, every other Canadian team has improved as well, which is why I just don't see them getting ahead. But then again, if they do finish last place in that division, it's not a bad thing. We get another high-end draft pick next year. And, as long as you see the team improve with no expectations, well, then that's good enough for me.
We agree on that, but we disagree on where they land.
Yeah. We'll see, eh? We'll place a bet on it or something, and we'll know at the end of the year.
Yeah. And then another thing I want to talk was Andy signing a PTO with the Washington Capitals. Now, I think some people thought that this might happen. I think before Lundqvist signed with the Capitals, some people thought that Anderson might be going there, and then Lundqvist ended up going there, but now Lundqvist can't play. So Andy is one of the guys that the Capitals have brought in. Do you think he makes the cut? I think he does. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think, especially with the taxi squad situation this year, I think it's a good fit for Andy. I think he wants to win. I think he deserves to win as well. He's put in a lot of time, a lot of effort throughout the years for the Sens that at this point, all I want to see is for the guy to succeed. I mean, he is 39, probably doesn't have much time, maybe another year. So I think Washington is a good situation for him. I think obviously it's unfortunate with Lundqvist, not being able to play this year, but I think that gives him the opportunity to come in and be a vet to their young goalie. So I mean, I'm happy for him. I think it's a good fit for him. But it depends how it goes. Things can happen, and you know what? I just wish the best for Andy, but Washington is a good call, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's wrap up our first episode. I think it went really well. Minus my camera quality, which will improve after this episode. So if you guys liked what you saw, what you heard, you guys have any questions, leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. And thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Take care. Thank you.